Hi, this is Dan Sullivan. I'd like to welcome you to the Multiplier Mindset Podcast. I had a very happy childhood. I had a childhood on a farm in northern Ohio in the 1940s and 50s where my parents, one, because I think they were really busy, and the second thing is that I think that they had real insights into who I was. I'm a fifth child of two fifth children, and I don't know if my parents knew how to raise my six other siblings, but they sure knew how to raise me. And what they did is they gave me an enormous amount of freedom. And one of my greatest freedoms was just walking through the fields on our farm, going into the woods. I think I was about 11 years old, and it was in February because I can remember what February looks like on the farm because everything is dead. The new crops haven't started, all the old crops are dead. And I liked walking through cornfields. My father raised about 40 acres of sweet corn during the summer and took it to the market. But it was really neat going through the cornfields. You followed the rows, and it was kind of that time of year in winter. It's still really cold. It was a very clear day, very bright skies, no clouds in the sky. You could start seeing the moon was starting to come up, but it was still bright sunlight. And I like crunching the snow because it got real crunchy in February. I was just walking through the field, and I used to know all the airplanes. I got real interested in airplanes after the Second World War. I could name the DC-3s and the DC-6s and the Constellation, various airliners, and they would come over. And we were right in the flight path, both between Cleveland and Chicago and New York and Chicago. They came right across northern Ohio. And I remember I heard a plane coming. It was a DC-6, 4 propellers. This is before jets. And I just watched it, tried to figure out which airline it was. I couldn't quite see. And all of a sudden I just got whoomp. It was almost like an electric shock. And I was looking at it, and I got a thought that came into my mind. And the thought was, I wonder how far I can go. It was just a question, okay? But a lot of people, I've read reports of people who have religious experiences or they have spiritual experiences. And the way they describe it is what I had. And it was late in the afternoon. It would be dark pretty soon. I just got this feeling, and I just felt this enormous sense of connection, kind of cosmic connection, if I want to use the words of the people who are into spiritual things. I just felt connected. And this question really, really became dominant in my life. How far can I go? A lot of people ask me, as I'm in my 70s now, and they're saying, what keeps you going? What is it that you're trying to achieve? And I said, well, I'm not looking for an answer. I'm just following a question. And no matter what level of success I've gotten to, no matter how much Strategic Coach has grown, I'm always at the end of a success, at the end of an achievement, the question comes into my mind, now I wonder how far I can go. So my feeling is that I've been unusually blessed by having my whole life framed by a question and not framed by answers. Okay, and the reason is because the moment that you get one level of answer to the question, how far can I go, immediately the question gets bigger and you go to another level. So my sense is that this really keeps me going, and there are all sorts of cliches about entrepreneurs and why they do what they do, and I believe they do it for freedom. But if you dig down real deep inside Dan Sullivan's brain, his 11-year-old brain, and now his brain 60 years later, the real reason why I do what I do is because I'm always wondering what the next higher level is to this permanent lifetime question that I've had. I wonder how far I can go. It's not a question that I'm ever going to get to a final answer. It's the fact that as I keep pursuing the question, all sorts of new great things happen, new discoveries, new capabilities. I meet great new people. So when I look ahead at the future, people say, well, you can't predict the future. I say, well, I can, because I know in the future, whether it's 5 years out or 10 years out or 20 years out, I know that every day that I live, I'm still going to be operating within this question that struck me out of the blue, literally, when I was 11 years old. I wonder how far I can go. I think the lesson is for entrepreneurs who want to keep going is reframe your future not as an answer, reframe your future as a question. The brain much prefers questions to answers. More of your brain gets involved in a question than gets involved in an answer. And the other thing is that some people, when they get a certain answer in life, that's the end of their life. That's the end of certainly the end of their entrepreneurial life. And they are never satisfied with that, because if you got to your answer, then why are you hanging around? I mean, why are you continuing to live? What it means is if you get to the answer, then your past is automatically going to get bigger and bigger and bigger than your future. But with my framing of everything as a question, there is no answer I can get to that's going to leave me not wanting to take the question further. And what I notice is that people whose life operates out of a question are always fresh, they're always young, they're always alert, they're always curious, they're always responsive, they're always resourceful, because they just want to get to the next level where they can discover even more of an answer to this lifetime question.